Ho ho. Now I think everyone can hear me. Holy moly. My apologies. All right. So here's what we're going to do. There we go. I'm going to start over. I so apologize. So we're about 8 minutes into it. Let me send this back here. Send that live. All right. All right. My apologies. Look at that. Some of that technology errors that are happening all the time. But we fixed it. I appreciate people texting in. And if I would have looked at my phone, I would have seen it as well. But I was being good and keeping my phone away from me. But I guess I should keep that up. So my apologies to everyone for that. So we're going to start again with that since you didn't hear a word I said. All right. So welcome families, Roadrunners, to tonight. Tonight, we are doing our phase 2 reopening plan. And my goal here tonight is to really make our families and students comfortable in what to expect when they return next week to our campus. We have our kindergarten and first graders starting on Monday the 28th. We have our second and third graders starting on Wednesday the 30th. And we have our fourth, fifth, and sixth graders starting on Friday the 2nd. Okay, so goal here, make you as comfortable as we can. I have a special guest tonight, is Miss Sherry. She is over here to my right, probably on the camera to your left, but she is here also to help support and answer any Q&As that we have going. So just so you know, there's a chat available. So if you have questions that come up while we're presenting, go ahead and type your question in. It's a private chat, so it is only going to Miss Sherry and myself, and we will answer those as we go. The way the presentation is broken down is it's about 9 sections. With that, if you have the PowerPoint at home from the link, please go ahead and you can follow along with that as well. With each section, if you have questions, I'll answer questions to that section at the time. So if they come in, I'll try to get through that. So that way it's referring to exactly what we just talked about. If for some reason I can't answer a question, maybe just an unknown answer at the time, then we'll put it in an FAQ and get back to you. The great thing about this live event is, one, this is being recorded. So if you miss it, if you have to leave early, if a family wasn't unable to watch it, I'm going to send out the link tomorrow to be able to watch the recording. Secondly, is our Q&A is also recorded, and so I can take all questions asked and make sure they were answered for you, okay? And so that way we're ready to go for next week. All right. My goal also is to make sure that we are completed by 7 o'clock. Hopefully that's the time. If not, then I have to pay Miss Sherry overtime. So and she charges quite a bit. So we're going to try to make sure we're done by 7 o'clock here. And if there's questions that aren't answered, then we'll do it in the FAQ and make sure that you get a hold of that. And again, as always, I'm always available for emails or anything to try to really answer and make you feel comfortable. And that's our job here, is to make sure that when you're coming back to school, or you're staying virtual or you're a blended student, we're all Roadrunners, and we're trying to just make sure that we're all doing well together with that, okay? So here we go. I'm going to get started again. I'm going to get back to my presentation and share this screen. Let's see here. Hopefully there's audio too. Oh, we don't need audio, but let me see here. And so everyone knows, I mentioned this earlier, but no one can hear me. There's about a 30-second delay from a live screen from what you're seeing and actually what I'm speaking. And so I do have a second monitor that I can see that what I'm presenting is correct. And so sometimes you'll see me delay a little bit to make sure that everything is going smoothly, okay? And you can see, I know you can hear now, so that's good. So again, thank you for all those that helped me out with that. That's the one piece that we don't know if it's not happening, because we have our computers muted, so there's no back feed. All right, so starting with Knoll Canyon, or starting with our presentation. And again, if you have this at home, and you could actually go to the email I sent on Sunday night and pull up the link to it and follow along if you like as well. But again, this will be available tomorrow as a recording. So Knoll Canyon Elementary reopening plan. And Mr. Jones and my email, and I believe everyone knows that one. So our first section here is protecting our students and staff. And so wellness checkpoints, what we're looking for, and this is pretty much anywhere we go now, it's just proper protocol to do, is we're checking our health as we go. And we're looking at passive screening. So what that means is we're asking parents to check their kids before they come to school. Okay, and what I was presenting earlier, and let's see if this will pop up again for you guys. Actually, it's there. Just pull up here. Passive screening is your daily home screening for students. So what we're asking parents and families to do before you come to school each day is go through this little checklist. You know, is temperature 100 degrees or higher when taken by mouth? Does student have a sore throat or not? Is there a new uncontrolled cough that causes difficulty breathing? Diarrhea, vomiting, or abdominal pain? New onset of severe headache, or especially with fever. Okay, so those are some symptoms. Others one is like we are asked pretty much anywhere we go into a store. If we're going to like a furniture store or somewhere you have to make an appointment, these are standard questions that are asked to make sure that we may not have symptoms, but maybe we've been around somebody. So close contact, potential exposure. Have close contact within 6 feet of an affected person for at least 15 minutes with a person with confirmed COVID-19. If you know you have been, then we want to stay home from school. Travel to or lived in an area where the local, tribal, territorial, or state health department is reporting large numbers of COVID-19 cases. I don't think it's not on yet. Oh, gosh darn. I am having trouble tonight, aren't I? Oh, that's why. Okay. All right, folks, PowerPoint's not showing. I'll get this, don't worry. We got this. Here, stop sharing. I'm going to share again. There we go. All right, now I think you can see it. Hopefully you can. My apologies. Hey, but this is what learning is, right? We make little mistakes, we get back up, and we're gonna learn how to fix it right here. So, wellness checkpoints. Again, I'm gonna repeat what I said. We have passive screening, and then here's what we're looking at, and I'll wait just a minute here to make sure it comes up on the screen. So I'm going to pause just a second and wait for my side screen to catch up. Which is funny because I have the side screen to make sure you're seeing what I'm seeing, and I didn't catch that. This is why we love live meetings. I would rather all of you be in front of me right now, and I think it would be a little easier. So let's see. I'm going to wait till this comes up for you. Gosh darn. There we go. Now it's working. All right, so now I see it's working. From here on out, it's going to be smooth sailing. I'll tell you that right now. There we go. Now you can see it. So again, here's what we're asking for you to do. You're not. This is going to be a checklist that you can keep this checklist here, but this is just something that we want you to do daily. before you send your child to school. Okay, and really, if you have any of these symptoms or any of Section 2 areas, please do not send them to school. And then you could call a child's absence for that. Okay, so that is that form there. Something that we're doing at school as well, it's for students that do become sick for whichever reason, we have a little flow chart that we're going to follow. And what that flow chart does, there we go, okay, kind of a decision tree. And really, before you look at low risk and high risk, okay, if we look down here at what's going to happen with any of these risks, exposure to COVID-19 positive person, if it's no, we're looking at if it's a low risk symptoms or a high risk. But if you look at each one, we're sending the student home. So if anything, if you have a fever over 100, if you have a sore throat, if you have congested runny nose, if you have a headache, nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, fatigue, muscle or body aches, those are all considered on this chart, and this is from a healthcare agency, Orange County Healthcare Agency. These are all considered at the time low risk. High risk would be the cough, difficulty breathing, loss of taste or smell. But with any of those risks, we're sending the student home. And then what happens afterwards, the follow-up is, if you have just low risk items, return to school 24 hours after symptoms resolve and without fever reducing medicine. So if you are taking medicine to lower your fever, you need to not have a fever for 24 hours without taking medicine prior to coming back to school. Okay. If you have low risk and one of the high risk items, then we're sending home and we're asking you are evaluated by a healthcare provider, and we'll have some paperwork for that if that was to happen. Okay. And then as you can see here, there's times when you're returning to school 24 hours. If you happen to have to get a test and it's negative, positive, these are a little outline of how to help with. Okay, so this link is here for you guys to look at a little further as we go on. Okay. And then if it happens that it is a positive COVID-19 test, then it's stay home and then it's return to school after 14 days from last contact, unless symptoms develop. Okay. And the second sheet on here is another little helpful guide. And this one is again, this was just updated in 9/22. So it kind of just shows the little signs and symptoms of illnesses, helpful hints of what to do and when to return to school. Okay, if you're having these symptoms and when to return to school. And we're going to follow this as well. So I want this to be for our parents to be knowledgeable on this as well. Okay. So when students are coming into school, what we're gonna have adults out there. Myself, as always, will be always out there. We'll have some teachers out there if they're on that duty schedule. But what we're looking at is we're checking students, just saying hi to them. We're, how you doing? How you feeling? Welcome to school, especially next week. Welcome back. We're glad to see you. All those indicators of just really greeting students like we always do. Okay. And then what we're looking for here is check for properly fitted masks or shields. Okay. That is one of the guidelines that we're following is all students will be wearing masks. I'm checking, we're getting notes that still can't hear. Let me check my notes real quick. Okay. All right. We'll try it. Let us know. Chat in if you can't hear me. Chat in and I'll try to fix it here. Okay, we can hear. All right, we want to make sure you're all seeing this. And just on the Q&A, if the volume goes out, let me know, okay, and we'll try to fix it for you. So checking for properly fitted mask and shield. So as students enter school, then all students should be in a mask. K2 is we are highly recommending masks throughout school campus with all students. But K2 face shields are required if student is not wearing a mask. And we received ours today for students. So we do have a face shield, which will provide students kindergarten through 2nd grade if they are not wearing a mask and they need to have the face shield on through the day. But 3rd grade through 6th grade do have to have a mask on throughout the day. Okay. And again, same as adults, teachers and staff will also be wearing masks. For adults, if us on campus, if we have a face shield, then we must have a mask on as well. We're also being provided the face mask with the drapes that come all the way down. And if that's the case, then we're okay without the mask because it's covering everything from down to our shoulders. All right, with that. All right, so updated, so we posted a few of these pictures throughout campus. You can kind of see what's happening to really remind students. Our simple signage is displayed to ensure health and safety. And this is throughout campus. We're gonna have we're gonna have 3 entries near the kinder gate, our main gate here in the front, and then more towards where usually our 5th and 6th graders exit and enter. And we'll have the sign on the left, prevent the spread of coronavirus, and it has some guidelines there. We have a lot of posters where please wear your face mask, keep 6 feet distance. In the office here, you see we have the please stand here. And again, the reminders throughout campus of wearing your face mask. On our benches throughout the campus, we have sit here, please sit here. So that way we know all students are spaced out. On our lunch benches are going to be the same as far as that goes. Social distancing and plexiglass partitions. Student desk tables, so you see some highlights here. We have H-frames on the far left there. We just have different samples of classrooms here with the plexiglass. On the far right, we have single desks. There are a few classrooms that are doubling up, and that doesn't mean a student's going to sit there. It means the student that's in the seat is going to have kind of the second desk to be able to put some items on, their own personal items on. And then we have the desk that's turned a little, give a little more room. And the shield is still covering the whole desk. And again, in classrooms, mask and face shields are still worn in class. And that's what we have to really push for all students and staff. Is what we do is just the face mask is worn at all times with that. So those are some samples of the desks and how they're looking. Hand washing and hand sanitizer stations. So we just yesterday, the picture on the left there, that is the touchless paper towel dispenser, and those are in every single classroom and in the restrooms. And then there's hand sanitizer in every single classroom. You kind of see the bottle there on the left. And then on the right, we have the picture of our hand washing stations. And those are going to be right outside the restrooms as well to give additional water places for students to wash their hands. And then we have cleaning procedures. So we have what we call Victory, and it's a spray that it dries about 10 minutes, and it's going to be sprayed throughout on every classroom every day. And let's see if the video will show here real quick. Just a quick little. And that'll sanitize each desk and chair. And this is just a quick sample. We want to get Miss Lauren showing how it's going to work. And of course, it's always done either late at night or early morning before students or anybody's in the classroom. Okay. We do have, going back real quick, in all our air conditioners, we have the new filters that have all been put in as well. And then we're going to be getting back shields as well. That also is another layer on the desk, which lasts up to about 3 months, and then they'll redo that. So another layer that will help with any germs not being on the desks. Drinking fountains. So all our drinking fountains will be unavailable, but we are fortunate that last year, with the help of NCSA and Anaheim Public Utilities, we're able to get a water filling station. So that's open, and that's able, so students have hydro flasks or water bottles, they can go and use this water station here. It's up in the upper grades bathroom, and they could refill that. But all other drinking fountains are turned off, just so we don't have that contact going on at the drinking fountains. Okay, so like I had mentioned, hopefully I mentioned when you can hear me, is I'm going to try to answer some questions. Miss Sherry's been writing quite a bit. I hear the marker going, so let me just take a couple and see. Okay, drop-off question we're going to answer in a few minutes. That question's answered in a few minutes. That answer. So a lot of questions coming in. That's going to happen later on in the PowerPoint, so I'll get back to it. Good question. Will a student who's been sent home or kept home but still logs on virtually, they will not be marked absent, correct? That is correct. And that is that's the benefit of having the virtual option as well, is if students do need to go home for sickness or whatever reason, they can go home, they hop on online, and they're back. They're just like they're doing right now. They're still present in class because they're engaged in the class and what's going on. Okay, so that's a good question. We only have one water filling station, that is correct. Each school in the Anaheim area, I believe, got one, and it was a grant that was given by Anaheim Public Utilities. District is providing kind of emergency water bottles if we do need it for kids at emergency areas, or if they run out of water, we do have a supply that we can help with. But that'd be one thing to really just check before you come to school, is make sure your student has a full water bottle that they can have. It's a hydro flask or whichever that they're going to carry with themselves. Okay. We are not, so possible to screen temps at gate in the AM. No, so the school, the only person that will be screening any temperatures would be our health clerk, or if our nurse is here, and that is if we have a student that we may think or is not feeling well and may feel like they have a fever or showing signs, then we'll take the temperature, but we're not screening at the gate. So that's why we're relying on the parents to really do your part before you send your child to school. Really check if they're feeling kind of achy, take their temperature, or if they have something that's just not feeling well, and you feel, it's probably a good idea to keep them home, then that's the best way, is keep them home, okay, with that. So we're not coming in and then if they end up being sick with fever or whatever, and then we're not spreading at all, okay? But that's something that we're doing too, as that passive screening, is also we're kind of looking like someone looks very chirpy and happy, or someone that kind of, we can kind of tell maybe they're not feeling too well, and we'll just ask those questions. Hey, how you doing today? How you feeling? You all right? And checking that out. So, but we are not screening at the gate students. Okay, I'll answer that in a few. Good question. So yeah, so my third grader wants to wear a shield. Does she have to wear a mask too, or is only the shield enough? No. So third and higher is just like us as adults. They need, if she has just the shield on that just goes to the chin, then they do need to wear a mask with that. If the shield comes with a drapery, then we're going to be okay with that because it's covering their whole area here. But so we're asking, so masks do need to be worn even with the shield that's down to their chin. So if your child has allergies and can cause runny nose or nasal congestion, we're going to know that because of your medical paperwork that you have, and we'll if a student gets sent up for those reasons, we're going to call parents anyway and talk that over with that. Okay, so we'll be aware of that if that happens. And if I'm skipping your question, I'm going to probably answer it later. I'm putting it to the side here. And then same thing, students in home sick, do they try to connect virtually? Yes. And I'll talk about that later. Good questions, and they're coming. Okay. All right. Okay, let me keep going because a lot of these questions are probably going to be answered later on in each slide here. And if not, then we'll get to it at the end with that. So instructional models. So here's I'm going to kind of talk about the what the schedule is going to look like with that. So again, as you all know, you all chose an option, full day, students on campus for full school day, blended, students on campus until their designated lunchtime, and then 100% virtual. Students continue distant learning from home. And I appreciate out of our 535 students, I think we've heard from every family. Maybe I think we're down to 2 families that we're still just reaching out to, but that's excellent. So we really appreciate you completing that survey and really communicating with us on your thoughts on that. So core instruction enrichment with classroom teachers. So full day and blended students will be taught by their classroom teacher. Supervision from support educators, and this is for specific grade levels based on number of students who are in person. So I put that in there because we do have a couple classes that currently have about 21 students that are returning to class, and with the class size, with the size of the room and safety precautions and keeping everyone spread out, we just can't fit 21 kids in a class safely, right? So we do have some support educators that will be here to support us. We have our VAPA teachers for AM time, and then we also have some TOSAs from the district who excel in math and science. So we're real excited to have that over here, and it's really with our 5th grade and one of our 4th grade classes where it's a high number of kids coming back. So we do have support with that, and I'll reach out individually to those classes to really talk about what that looks like. But we do have the support educator for that. And then 100% virtual students are going to be live streamed into the classroom. So how the teacher's teaching right now is how it's going to continue virtually for the student. The only thing different with the virtual student is that the bell schedule changes a little bit for them, but everything else is still done at home. Yeah, so will my child have the same teacher? Yes, that was the biggest thing is looking at numbers is if we needed to balance out classes. But from what I heard from our families, number one, and number two, what I heard from our teachers is we want to stay with our teacher, right? And that was the biggest thing is our teachers have connected with their students virtually. They want to make sure they're staying with them and guiding them through the education. And so we're really focused on keeping your child with their student with that and just working out. The only difference would be the small groups of the couple classes that are over 21 students that are returning to class. There's going to be a rotation there as far as if they're working with a paraeducator or working with their teacher, but they're all going to get the same instruction there. But everyone else is working with their own teacher. Okay. Good questions coming in. Thank you for doing that. Sherry's hand is going to be quite tired after she may not come to work tomorrow. Okay, technology, live streaming. So our technology will be robust to ensure that our learning goals are met. Teachers will continue their excellent virtual instruction, which they've just shined tremendously of what they've been doing since school started. But in the classrooms, the laptops, smart TVs, document cameras, or ELMOs is what we call them, is what they're using. And in-person students, what we're asking is in-person students should bring their own device. And a couple ways. And this is going to be based on classrooms and teacher preference here. But a lot of classrooms are going to continue with their students having the device with them, even if they're here at school, and at times being on the meets with the group, because what that does is they've created a family, and they've created a family in their Google Meets class where they see all their friends and they connect in that way. And having that device and being able to still connect in that direction, like straight on, is really important for our students. So doesn't mean that they're going to have direct instructions from the computer at all. It just means that they're still going to be able to communicate and collaborate with their friends that are still at home or virtually, and it just gives that bond. And same thing with the virtual students at home. They're still going to be able to see their friends that are here, so it creates that family atmosphere is what we're still looking for. So we are asking that students do bring their own device, and at the end there's a couple items of important reminders on that, so I'll talk about that a little bit. Class sizes. Well, let me look here. We're on the next one. Someone asked, can we send a case of water to school to use distributed as needed by teachers? That would be awesome. That would be great. I think we can take that and designate it to that classroom if needed. Okay, so we appreciate that. That is great. Good question. Okay, all right. Class sizes. So social distancing means reduced capacity. So with everything we're doing, we have to really reduce our number of students that are in a certain area. Okay, so all classes will operate at a reduced capacity. So instead of normally, 25 to 35 kids in a class, we can't do that, right, with our spacing and all that. So class sizes are ranging from 14 to 21 students per class is about what we're at for everyone, and that includes that's the high number of example blended students and in-person students that are all here in the AM. Normally is the high we have right now is about 21 students a class, and it ranges per teacher. It ranges with that. Each desk is equipped with its own desk guard, and those were the pictures that were shown earlier. And what that is, it's kind of a big plexiglass type trifold that fits on the desk, so the student has their own space that they're in. And even at the desk, though, even with that, we're still having masks on during classroom. That's the number one thing that I think we've heard from all the guidelines is keeping the masks on at all times. Okay. With that. And students will social distance when entering and exiting classrooms. That's one thing that talking with the teachers is we're going to really slow down our structure. And when students are lined up outside, they're going to be socially distanced when they're lined up outside. When we enter the classroom, they're going to be socially distanced. So 2 kids at a time, with space, go find your seat. The next 2, come on in, go find your seat. When we're exiting the room, same thing. So students are, and I think with the environment we're in right now, I think we're very used to that, where we've come accustomed to keeping our space whenever we're out and about. But the students, it's going to be stressed over and over again, and they're going to adapt to it pretty well. They're going to get that we have to keep our distance from each other when they're here at school. Okay? Face shields. So with the face shields that we're giving to K to 2 students, and that's if a student, if they don't have a mask, then we're going to provide the face shield for them, and it's theirs to keep. So what we would suggest is keeping it in maybe there's a big Ziploc bag that they can, once they leave school, once they're off campus, they could put it in there, and then at home, the family can go ahead and clean it each day if they like. Okay, with that. We do have quite a bit. If a student loses one, we'll be able to provide them one, okay, with that. Hopefully that answered that question there. Okay, daily schedules. So arrival time and dismissal times, because, and this is the hardest part here for as a school, as any school, if you're a teacher or you have kids at other schools, is really the stagger starting and knowing we have to keep our distance. We can't have all 530 kids, or if we're at about almost 300 kids that are going to be here on campus. So 300 kids coming at all at one time. It just won't work with our entrances and keeping social distancing and all that. So we do have to do staggered arrival times, staggered dismissal times. We have staggered recesses, which you'll see. Lunches have all been divided up to have the minimum number of students we can out there at one time. So arrival, I started with the earliest time. So arrival, 4th, 5th, and 6th arrival time is 8 o'clock to 8:10, and the red time, 8:10, is what indicates their start time. First, second, third is 8:10 to 8:20, 8:20 being their start time, and then kinder 8:20 to 8:30. And then dismissal, kinder's at 2 o'clock, first, second, third is 2:10, and fourth, fifth, and sixth is 2:20. So with that is we understand their siblings. We understand there could be siblings. They're a fifth and sixth grader that start at 8:10, and then they have a kinder who starts at 8:30, right? So they can drop off between 8 and 8:10, and then the kinder is 8:20, 8:30. We have a couple support staff that are going to be able to, especially with the kinders, be outside and hold ground with them and until we're able to open the gates and mingle in. But if you don't have, if you're able to, as a family, what we'd appreciate, and it's just a short time, but if you are able to, drop off your older one and then be in the car, maybe in the parking lot, and just wait till the drop-off time, that really just keeps the flow going smooth instead of having a bunch of students just all around and finding space. So if there's a lot of issues with that at all, you can talk to me individually, but really trying to keep that spacing with that. And it's difficult. And this is hopefully during this phase, hopefully we can, in time, quickly we move forward and we can get to a phase 3 where we're back to normal schedules and we don't really need to stagger. But this is something that just to keep the numbers low, we're really asking for parents to really look at and try to do their best with that. These are new. Okay, I'm going to check the questions real quick before moving on. Okay, it's a schedule. 2-3 combo, halfway max F9. Which is just a headache. Intermittent headaches, would you be sitting home for just a headache? That'll be a call to you, and we'll assess the student when they're inside the office and see what they're feeling and what's going on with what they're doing. So, but we'll assess with that and give the parent a call. It's hard to say a direct answer to that because depending on what other symptoms can be happening or different things like that. So it'd be a call to the parent and then checking each student with that. Okay. All right. So bell schedule in phase 2. So we are transitioning to a more traditional bell schedule, to our longer hours. So example, 5th and 6th grade, 4th, 5th, and 6th grade are 8:10 to 2:20 is the bell schedule with that. Okay, so it is a little different. Phase 1, the biggest reason we were able to keep the bell schedule low is we just needed to hit our minimum required minutes for each grade level, which is 180 for kinder, 230 for K through or 1st through 3rd, and then 240 for 4th through 5th, 4th through 6th. With phase 2, we can go more to our traditional bell schedule with that. So for majority of grade levels, all students, in person and virtual, will receive the same instruction. So they're going to be, if you're at home, just like you're learning your instruction now, if you're here on campus in class, or if you're here and then leave at lunch, you're going to hear the same instructions. You're not going to miss anything. Okay. Teachers are live streaming their in-class instruction to our virtual students, and it's going to be a challenge. We know that. We're not saying this is going to be easy, breezy easy, but it's going to be a challenge for all students, and we'll talk about a little bit of that, where especially the virtual students, how that's going to be a challenge as well. But it is going to, teachers have the technology that they're using and really just trying to make it work to the best that they can, where they're really instructing the two groups here, the in-person and the virtual kids. Blended, option 2 students will leave campus at lunch and continue their PM instruction at home. And then in-person students will follow instruction from live teacher. In-person students are asked to bring a device to participate in Google Meets, while virtual students are doing the same, and kind of talked about that earlier. Okay. So looking at the bell schedule, and I'm just going to click, and if you have it at home, you can click on each one too, but I'll click on each one, kind of briefly show it, and then kind of try to go from there. So hopefully when I click, hopefully it goes on for you. All right, so for our 1st and 2nd grade class, so this is an 8:20 to 2:10 start. And so we are looking at 8:20, so morning content. And on the right here, to make it a little easier for you, option 1 and 2 on campus, option 3 at home. So you kind of follow along with who's on campus and who's at home. 8:30 to 9:35, and these are whatever instruction's going on, and this could include teacher might take them outside for something, might science, math, English, whatever instruction they're doing, and including the virtual students, they're going to do that. So we have a recess, okay, 20-minute recess with that, and you can hold recess. Will be talked about and be spoken about in a few minutes. So if you have questions on that, you might want to hold on and see if I answer it or not later on. So first and second grade lunch is 11:30 to 12:10. And this is where our option 2 kids will leave campus and head home. And lunch will be talked about in just a sec as far as what's available for lunch as well. And then 12:10 instruction, option 2 and 3 are at home, and option 1 is staying here. And if we're going to really communicate with our families if there's any issues at all about getting home, and then we're going to talk to our teachers about, hey, it might be a few minutes late to logging on to be back in an instruction, okay, with that. So we'll communicate that on an individual basis, but 12:10 to 1:10, they're back at school, they're back online. Our online kids are also following the recess, so they're going to have their 20-minute break at 9:30. They're going to have their lunch for 40 minutes, and they're going to have another break at 1:10 with that, okay? And then 1:25 to 2 instruction is completed, and then closure and cleanup, okay? With that. And students are going to be able to, especially the virtual students, and this might be a time at 2 o'clock where we're kind of closing up and closing down, and then teachers are getting everything ready. So teachers are going to have some, especially on the first 2 weeks or so, they're going to move this around a little bit as far as our virtual students and what is actually being presented to them, because remember, we have our students here on campus for the first time again, so there's going to be some challenges with that as far as really sticking to the exact time, okay? Modified schedule, so this is because in our normal schedule, all our kids our blended kids are leaving at lunch, and modified schedule, we don't have a lunch, and our modified kids, our blended kids are able to stay until the halftime or till half day is over. So 12 o'clock would be when they are leaving, and the modified Wednesdays would be the same as our minimum days as well. And remember, we are going to have minimum days on parent conferences from the 5th to the 8th. Okay. So I'm going to move on real quick and show 3rd and 4th and 5th and 6th, kind of same standard here, same model, just different times. The reason you see 3rd and 4th together is because for lunchtime, they have the same lunch. So we're only putting 2 grades at a time for lunch with that, okay? And so the bell schedule here for 3rd and 4th, same time, start time is 8:20. We are instructing, recess, and then lunch is at 12 o'clock for 3rd and 4th graders. And then we're done at 2:10, okay? If we scroll down a little bit, modified Wednesdays, same thing. Blended students, option 1 and option 2 are on campus till 12 o'clock, and then option 3 goes home, is at home the whole time, okay? And to show you 5th and 6th grade real quick, same model, just different little bit of times. And remember, the reason the times are different is the staggered. Only having 2 grades out at recess at one time is what we're doing, okay? So morning recess, 10:25 to 10:45, and their lunch is at 12:25. Okay, so that's when our blended kids will leave, is at 12:25. And just, it's that, especially the lunch, we have the lunch benches. We could fit about 60 students at one time on the lunch benches, spaced out appropriately. And so we have 10 long lunch benches. So that's how it works out, about 6 kids per long stretch. So that's why the lunches have to be spaced out so much, okay, with that. So I understand, and there could be difficulty with blended students that chose option 2, you know, especially if you have a younger sibling with that. But we're asking, you know, if it's a major thing, please email me. But we're asking, especially during the staggered time, that if you're able to follow along with that, come back and pick up your older child, that would be very helpful. And then modified Wednesdays, everyone's here till we leave. And then same with minimum day. Okay, and then kinder, if you're a kinder parent, sorry, we shared with them, and then we're gonna have another meeting with our kinders tomorrow night. So we'll share again with tomorrow night. Okay. Lunch, I'll talk about lunch in a sec, but let's see here. Let me follow up with some questions here. How we know if our child will be in a supervised classroom, meaning that we have an overflow of students and we have the support educator. I'll be reaching out to those classes individually and letting the parents know how that's going to work. Okay. What will recess look like? I'm going to grab some of these questions here. Can we choose to send students only 2 days a week to minimize risk? At this time, that's not an option that we're offering with that. I would say if we're unsure, we're a little nervous about it. That's why the virtual option is a great option also, to make sure just everyone's staying safe the whole time. We want, you know, as many students as we can here, but it's that own personal family decision with that. Okay. I'll catch up with the questions in a sec. For recess and lunch, so free meal flyers. So lunch is actually being offered free to all students, and we'll be doing lunch counts with that. And so here's the flyer, and you guys can look it up when if you get a chance, but I'll share it with you real quick. So this is new for 2020 and 2021. This is the USDA announcement, which makes OUSD eligible to provide free meals to all children 18 years and younger. So we'll be doing meal counts each day and seeing who needs food for each day. Okay, and you could read through this. This is from reduced meals. They still would like you to do your application online with that. Okay. And then distance learning, if you're a virtual student staying home, and this was in our newsletter, distance learning free meal pickup, it's every Wednesday at our school site, that if you want to do pick up meals, free meals are available, pick up at any site, every Wednesday, 12:30 to 2. Okay, includes 5 breakfasts, 5 lunches, assorted fruit, veggies, and milk. So I want to make sure you guys knew that flyer was out there too. Talk about it. Check some questions here. Will full day students be interacting with AM PM students, or will they be in different cohorts? No. So say example, say a 4th grade class, we have 12 kids that are here all day, they're full day, and we have 6 kids that are blended, meaning they're leaving at lunch. Then that gives us 18 kids total that are in the classroom at that time with that. So they're all being instructed together, and then our blended kids will be leaving to go home and finish their instruction at lunch, after lunch. Our gate classes will not rotate. We're keeping that as they currently are right now, with gate staying with their specific teacher, right? So there's not rotation going on with that. Okay. With the desks, what we're able to with the, I'll go back to the slide, or I have it right here. The back shield, it's a BAC shield, and I could provide information on that, but it goes on the layer of the desk where, along with the cleaning, students can sit, and so we can have, if there's two classes that do rotate and switch classes, that is available to do while they're at their desk, or not while they're at their desk, but with the back shield on it, it's protecting the desk with that. So we do have a couple upper grades that do switch, 6th grade class, and so that is able to do because of what's on there. If we don't have that, then we can't rotate, but we do have that availability with that. Yeah, well, our teachers give us more details about each particular grade schedule. Yeah. But yes, they will. Yes, teacher will communicate that as far as specifically to how their schedule looks for their class. Okay, we want to give that openness to our teachers to be able to create their own classroom in the way that they want to. So staggered breaks and lunches. So recess and lunch will be staggered to ensure sufficient supervision and social distance. Okay, so that's why we have kinders are always by themselves anyway, but we have 1st and 2nd grade together, 3rd and 4th together, 5th and 6th together. So there's less students out at lunch at one time. Breaks are being held outdoors unless, of course, inclement weather. If we have rainy weather, which I think last year we had 2, happened to be on March 13th was our last rainy day there, but then we change things up. But how we do, we have to eat inside and stay at your desk and all that. But we do use the lunch benches outside, and that's available for that with the socially distance with that. Students sit socially distanced at lunch benches. Each class will have a designated area they can be in. So example, so what's going to happen is it's not a like normal recess where students can go and play all together, you know, whatever games they play or mix in. We have to keep the group of classes together just to keep that cohort together as far as when they're socializing. So example, Miss Amsbury's class will have a specific area that they can go to. Okay, and we're gonna be creative and try to have some rotations. So example, on one day on Mondays, maybe at recess or lunch, class A will be on the track and they'll be socially distanced as they're walking the track. Class B might have jump ropes that, of course, will be sanitized, and it'd be their jump rope for the day. We would sanitize everything in the afternoon or evening, and then be able to use them the next day. And then hula hoops. And these are just examples of things of how we're going to rotate and this specific area the class will be in to participate in their physical or in their recess and lunch with that. And so even at the lunch benches, we're going to have to keep the classes at specific lunch benches, even though they're spaced out, but just making sure that they stay in that cohort. And the reason being is just that tracking device of knowing if a student was to get sick, you know, and knowing where they were at throughout the day, what classroom they were in, who they were around, what group of students they were around. And so if recess and lunch is kind of a free-for-all, then we have mixed students constantly happening. So it's hard to really track that. So during this time, that's what doing the social distancing, we need to follow those regulations there. So it will be a big area. It's not going to be like a 10 by 10 square. It's going to be a quite a big area that they have room to play. They could play, you know, shadow tag games or different activities that they can do. So just be outside and be moving, you know, and have that kind of break from the classroom with that. Okay. Playground and shared equipment. So playground equipment, I should have put, is like your swings, your slides, all the things that we climb on. That playground equipment is going to be blocked off, so we can't use that. And then shared equipment will not be allowed. So shared equipment would be the handballs, the basketballs, etc. Okay, with that. So, but jump ropes, it's individual jump ropes, so they're jump roping by themselves. There's no double dutch or anything like that, so we're not cross using the handles with other students. It's their own jump rope for the day. If it's recess and then lunch, and then we'll turn it in and we'll sanitize everything, okay, with that. Those are just some options that we have that we can really create, give them some activities to do while they're outside, okay? Good question. My child is new to the school. How will they know where to go? We're treating first day of school like first day of school, like next Monday, next Wednesday, next Friday. When it's that grade level's day to come back, we're treating it like it's first day of school. So we know there's new students. We know it's going to be different, you know, and we're going to really structure that and really guide them to where they need to be and create that structure and that environment where they really enjoy being here. Okay, so we'll do that. And in a few, I'll show you on the first day how that's going to work. So drop off and dismissal, kind of hit on this a little bit. So one of the biggest things is, and this is, we have such great community here and great parents here that we love seeing all our parents, our NCSA volunteers that help, our room volunteers that help. It's just constant that we always have adults here that are helping and supporting our school. But during this phase, when we're back, we can't have that. So we can't have parents on campus at all through here. So if you are so drop off or dismissal. If you're a walking family, meaning you walk to school with your kids, or so let's say you're parking over at Trinity parking lot and coming across the street to drop off during your designated time. Walking families will need to separate from students prior to arriving at whatever entrance gate you're at. So we don't want you walking all the way up to the gate. We're just going to need to separate from our child prior to getting there. The biggest thing, and I put this on here, is we just need to avoid congregating in front of the school. So especially if you see other families that you know and that you like to see, it's going to look very different. That's what it is, because that's probably the most positive thing, not the most positive, but that's one of the positive things about Knoll Canyon that I really saw right when I got here, is the families that they bond outside, especially drop off and pick up. And you know, and that's why I love being out there, is being able to see all the families. And so that's just something that we're just gonna have to change for hopefully a brief time, but just to keep everyone safe and not congregating, and you know, we'll take care of your child when they're here, but if you walk them up, just let them go once we get to a certain spot before the gates and you come on in. Students report to the designated classroom spot on the blacktop. So especially that first week, we have the signs that that were made by Mr. Barden, and they've come in handy. Every time we have drop-offs, you know, we put out the signs with the teachers' names on them. So we're gonna have spots out on the blacktop with the teachers' names, especially first day. Remember, it's first day of school for these kids. It's the first day they're here, so they gotta know where to go. We have spots on the ground about please line up here. We're gonna have dots on the ground that are spaced out so students know where to stand when they go out there, especially the first day when we get here. And so we'll be out there and we'll be getting them used to the structure that's happening with that, okay? My sound again?
Some are saying no sound.
I'm checking my sound. Checking again. Let's see. Let us know if you can't hear me. My mic's on. Okay, seems okay. All right, we'll keep going. And then students will be dismissed at their designated entrance exit gate with social distance protocols, again, spaced out. Please adhere to the staggered schedule. So really trying, I know it's going to be difficult, especially if you have multiple kids at our school and it's very different. You know, in the past, parents come a little early, they sit on the curb, talk to other parents, wait for their kids to come out. If you have a younger one that comes out earlier and then an older one, you kind of hang out and wait. But with this time, we just need to really adhere to the staggered schedule. And if it's just driving to the back parking lot and waiting there until the time comes around, that's what we're going to have to do. And remember too, something to think about is we don't have 530 students coming out at once, right? Or even staggered. So the number of students, especially the ones that went home already during lunchtime, our number is going to be a lot minimal, but we still need to help that keep that staggered. And it's going to be adjustment, just as our students are going to adjust being at school. We're just going to need the support of our families to really help with the staggered area and drop off. And I'm one that if something's not working, then we'll look to change it. We'll look how we make this better, and we'll always take advice and see how can we make something better and what it is. So, but when we start out and our plans going forward is we really just need to make that staggered schedule look. Okay, let me catch up here real quick. And again, if I don't get to your questions, I will put them in an FAQ and answer them. So believe me, you're not going to go ignored here with this. How will lunchtime dismissal work for blended schedule kids? So we're going to have our either myself, other adults on campus that are going to be helping with that. And remember, it's usually just 2 grades at one time, very minimum number of students. So we'll be walking them out and looking for having you cars parked or ready to go to take your child, but they will not be left alone. We never leave a student outside by themselves at all. And so there's always going to be either noon supervisors, myself, instructional specialists, any adult that is scheduled for that time will be helping assist with get the students out to the cars. And if you are walking, if you let your students walk home, we'd like to know that just so we know we're not waiting to see an adult come there. Good question. Is the instruction from the teacher after lunch, or is it independent work after lunch? So we're going to continue instruction with that. And the biggest thing is we have the minutes where our bell schedule is going to 2:10, and to be able to continue that instruction, especially with the kids in front of us, and to make sure it's equal to all parties are hearing the instruction that's happening. There's still going to be instruction after school. Some teachers, they have there's certain days where they might have some more collaborative work going on or some asynchronous work going on. But for the most part, the instruction is going to continue after lunch for that time period. That way your virtual students are still getting all the instruction, your in-person students are getting the instruction, and our blended students are still getting whatever the instruction was that happened. This is the number one question here from everyone. Will there be plugs in the room for charging? Do you need donation of power strips? So we are being, district is providing some power strips with us. That brings up a good point because I didn't put that on the last slide. The number one item that we're going to really need our parents to really help with is make sure your device is charged. We do want students, and it's coming up in this next important reminder. Here, I'll just get to it. Is bringing your device and having your charger. We're going to do our best to either have carts out where they can put their own device in and get charged. The difference though is if you've gone to the district and gotten a new DynoBook, those chargers are different than the ones on our Chromebooks. Okay, so we do need to have their chargers here in case we do need to charge them during class. One thing we want to avoid is the cords being all over the place, being a tripping hazard. So we might have in each classroom there could be a charging station for the computers to go, maybe at recess or lunch, to really get plugged in again and get charged up. But if parents can really make that a checklist for each night, is your device charging? So it's full powered when they come to school, so it's ready to go when they need it. So to clarify, in-person students are looking at the laptop when the teacher is at the front of the school or at the front of the class. It differs per teacher. So the goal of the student having the computer with them and being able to be in a Google Meet class as well is really to keep that family bond, like I said earlier, to keep them engaged with what the kids at home are seeing too. Now the teacher could be instructing also on their smart TV, right? So they can see that whatever on through their Elmo. So whatever samples or what the students could be seeing at home, the student in class could be seeing on the smart board. But it's really to keep them guided towards keeping that in person. Where if there's discussion going on, you know, a teacher puts out some sort of question that the kids can answer, that everyone is involved in it and still remains part of that one group with that. Currently doing distance learning. Can we do in person after winter break, or is our spot lost? So again, and that comes up later on, is we're asking families to commit until November 13th, which is our trimester date. And prior to that, we'll send out another survey request to see if you're changing your option to be in person or virtual with that. But especially that way is if you're distance learning and you want to come into the school, we're asking you really wait till trimester, because it's about our numbers and how we've had a balance, or knowing how many students are live in our classrooms. So important reminders. Want to make sure it's, oh, look at that, 7:14. I'm paying Sherry overtime already. That's okay though. I had some technical difficulty, so delayed. So next week will be important reminders here. So thinking about next week, it's going to be like the first day of school for students and teachers. So we haven't had students on campus since March 13th, right? So that's going to slow things down a little bit, especially for our virtual students at home. And not constant. It's not going to be like this the whole time, but it will be for that first week or so. So virtual students, we're just asking to have patience with that typical schedule you're used to following. Because remember, our students that are on campus now, they're lined up outside. We're bringing them in. We're social distancing, so it's a lot slower when we're doing that. And just getting everything going, getting them in their seats, especially those first couple of days. So virtual students, and your teacher will talk to you. They might have you do some work prior to actually instruction happening, and then letting you know, okay, hey, at this specific time, log in and we're going to be ready to go. But they're going to communicate that with you. In-person students, learning expectations, seeing classroom for the first time. So those are things that, being that first day of school, again, that's what's real important. Excuse me. We'll face, and then challenges, you know, technology, as we see tonight. You know, there's technology issues that happen, as we see every day with students and teachers being kicked off Google Meets, or being overloaded and from the platform that they're using. So we're going to have those little issues, and we just ask for patience, and we're just going to take it slow and make it through and make things in a positive way, and really try to fix any issues that we're having. But the biggest thing is patience. There is really trying to get through that. In-person student needs. So what we're asking, like a checklist of what you bring to school each day, your mask, and then if you have a spare mask, and put it in a Ziploc in your bag. So just in case, you know, you lose yours, it gets dirty, it falls, and you don't want to use it. If you have a spare mask, that would be great. We do have, the school has child-size masks, so if we do see if student loses theirs or something happens where they don't have one, we have one for them, so we'll be able to provide that. Label name on a device and charger. Okay, so you're bringing your own. If you're bringing your own device, putting your name on it, on your charger too, because all the chargers look the same, so we want to make sure that it all stays together with that, and just have it ready in your backpack. Hopefully your batteries can stay charged, but if not, you have it there with you. If you still need a district device, district office is still issuing them from 12:30 to 3:30 each day with that, and they're the Dynabooks with that. So if you do have a Chromebook at home, or you need a device, maybe you're using your own personal computer, your own personal laptop that you don't want to bring to school, just head down to the district and grab one. Headphones, earbuds, and if you keep a little label on them, so we know they're yours. But that's where, if in class you're doing some collaborative work, or maybe small group, and in your small group is also students online that are home virtually, then using headphones, you can communicate with them a lot easier. Okay, and then that way also, if they are doing an activity with Google Meets, and our students that are in class are on Google Meets, everyone doesn't need, because you can't have all the volumes up, because then we're going to get that feedback, which isn't tech savvy and wouldn't work very well. So using headphones and earbuds to make sure we're listening to the computer as it's going for those specific times with that. And the school will have earbuds for students if they do need them. Okay, and they're the little ones, so if your child doesn't like wearing the ones that go in the ear, that's what they are. We do have a variety of the big headphones too that we use for our SBAC testing. So we do have those also if we need. Okay. Lunches. If you could bring disposable lunches, that'd be preferred compared to a lunch pail. That way, when they're done eating, everything just goes in the trash, and we're not using any items to like carry and have to pick up or leave on the ground in that way. So disposable lunches would be perfect for that. And individual supplies, and teacher's going to communicate. I didn't want to put anything on there as far as if a teacher didn't want something or if they do need something. Some teachers have already communicated to families something that they're looking for with that. So teacher will communicate with class if items are needed. Students, you can bring, your own little, for Kleenex, bring your own little travel pack, keep with you. Bring your own few little tiny sanitizer bottle, that you want to keep on your backpack. You can do that. Okay, so little items that you can bring yourself with that. And then I know some teachers have put out already, but individual, we can't have a box of pencils or pens or markers where it's just a community where everyone uses it. We can't do that. So we're needing specific items per student. And they can keep it, if they have a box of their own items, they can keep that here. Okay, they don't have to carry that back and forth either. They can keep that in their desk where they're at. Some things to look for in the next newsletter or the email coming out probably by Friday, especially for our in-person families that are coming back, is our student emergency kits. Those are still available, and this is what it's a little emergency kit that I believe it's $15 that you can buy if you like. And these emergency kits are put into a bin per classroom. So in the case that we did have an earthquake of some sort or evacuation or disaster that we were here on campus, we have these emergency kits for you. So that's what those are used for. Or you can put a little Ziploc bag of these items also in a little zippy that we can also take as well. And then also, if you're coming to in-person school, parent physician request for medication, and what that just is if you take medication here at school, we need to have this form filled out, and it dictates what needs to be done here. Okay. And it's a form, it's kind of like this here form. All right. Okay, and then commitment. So again, like I mentioned earlier, we ask that families stay committed to their choice through the first trimester, and trimester 1 ends on November 13th. Okay. If you have questions regarding your commitment, then just email me your questions with that. Okay, and I could try to help out and answer for you with that. So let's see what I can answer for you. And again, if I don't get to all your questions, we have them all logged in, and I'll put a FAQ out as well with that. That's fine. Again, right now, so a couple questions on which classes have the support educators. We have a 5th grade class and a 4th grade class. So right now, Miss Amsbury's class is at about 21 students, and Miss Ayala's class is about 21 students. All our other classes are under the 20 mark, and where there's space in the classrooms for that. And so looking at just rotations, possibly of 7 kids at a time, and it's not going to be constant. It's going to be a rotation where it's mixed in, but they're all still getting the same instruction with that. Okay, and we'll give information on that as it happens more. Can I go from hybrid to all day in person? I kind of just went. We really looking for you to stay committed to your choice till the end of the trimester with that. The thing with hybrid though is if you are in person and you do need to go hybrid or you're sick or anything, that's an easier move because we're not putting more students in a classroom at this time as what we've planned for. So once it comes around to November 13th and that survey comes out, we're going to again readjust and plan and see what we can do as far as adult. If we have constantly mini classes over 20, then we're going to need additional support to have that flow, so we're not loading up the classrooms. If you have multiple kids and you're a blended student and different grade levels, then we're just going to communicate that with your teacher and individually. If there's issues about getting back to school, getting back home and getting them back online for their instruction, just communicate with that with myself and your teacher on each circumstance that happens, and we'll look at that individually. Can parents escort their children to class on their first day? Unfortunately, we can't. We can't have adults on campus from there. So we're going to have you walk them up as close to the gate as you can, and then we'll take it from there. But unfortunately, we cannot have that. How many students are returning to in-person, hybrid, and virtual? The number changes quite a bit, but we're about 200 students are virtual, and then about 230, 250 students are either blended or in person. Okay, with that, the virtual might be a little lower, but that's about 250 to 300 are here on campus. 300. And I'll get our students assigned a specific gate entrance for arrival, upper, lower grades. Kinder students are going to be at the kinder gate, and we'll help the kinder parents out with that. And then our upper grades, and I'll give information out, especially our upper grades, our 4th, 5th, and 6th are starting on October 2nd. And so we're going to give more information as far as specific details on if we want our 5th and 6th grade or just our 6th grade at our farther gate, and then our other families in the middle here. So we'll give that out as we get closer to that October 2nd date. Are masks needed while playing strenuous activity outside? So masks are going to stay on. Eating lunch, they're not going to stay on. So we're going to keep our social distance there. If they're playing with other students though, then the masks have to stay on, especially if we're in close proximity to each other. If students taking a long walk and no one's around them, then the mask can come off there. Okay, but if we're any time we're with social gatherings at all, we're gonna have to keep our mask on with that. VAPA, how will VAPA be handled? And your VAPA teachers should be speaking with you and letting you know how that's going to happen. So they're going to actually be giving recorded assignments out, and they're going to record their assignment once a week during class, during 5th or 6th grade class. Your teacher's going to allot about 30 minutes for you to view the lesson, and it's following the lesson, doing whatever written assignment. But then if you play an instrument or if you sing, that's all going to be done at home. Okay, so we're not playing any instruments at school, and we're not doing any, having choir at school. So any actual practicing of the instrument or singing is going to take place at home. But you will be given an assignment that you can complete here at school during the day. And the VAPA teachers will be recording those activities for you. Can our students walk over to Trinity after school to be picked up? if it's age appropriate, we do have a crossing guard out there, so that's fine. If you're comfortable with your student walking to Trinity, then that's fine. Yeah, that works. Okay. Let me see if a couple more, and I apologize if I don't get to your question, but again, I will. I definitely will, and I'll answer them with that. So what is a protocol if someone tests positive? So we have a lot of guidelines that our district, our county, Orange County will follow if there's a positive case. And that's why the tracking is so important, knowing where your student is throughout each day and knowing who they've hung out with and keeping it in that cohort of their students in their class. So if a student does become positive, we talk about close proximity, who's been in contact with that student for more than 15 minutes. Different, and I could go, let's see if it's still here. So have close contact with a person confirmed COVID-19, and it's on section 2 there with that. And so we would let families know, and there's a protocol that the health agency actually takes over and helps contact families and contact and they give the guidelines of whether you need to get tested or different items, or if you need to quarantine, and they'll help support us as far as the guidelines go of what we need to do. Blended students, yes, they go on Wednesday, so they're here till school's out. Okay, since normally they leave at lunchtime, they're here till that time when school's out for everyone. Yeah, so a lot of questions on if there's an outbreak or if there's someone tests positive in the classroom. And yes, if you are part of that cohort where someone does test positive, there's a whole guideline that, again, Orange County Health Agency really takes over, and there's letters that go out to families, and there's communication that happens to let everyone know with that. Should we label district devices with our kid's name? What I would use is tape, either blue painter's tape or some type of tape that you put your name on. If it's a district device anyway, we have it logged in the computer, so if it did get lost, we could pull up the serial number and see whose it is. But just for quick reference, I would just put a piece of tape and put names on it with that. Will kids be able to hang out with friends from other classes during recess and lunch? So if they're in their class, they're gonna see them. They're probably gonna be able to talk to them at a distance, but not really be in the same group as them, okay, with that. Just keeping the cohort together. Will students be allowed to move around the classroom for a tissue, etc.? Will the teacher be able to come to their desk if help is needed? And that's really on the I think getting up and getting something, as always, like we do in normal classes, we're going to ask the teacher, hey, can I get this? Or so we're just not stepping up and walking wherever. So we're going to follow that same structure that normally happens in a classroom. And the comfort level, the comfort level of the teacher also is what's happening too. So there's going to be assistance available, but be able to ask the teacher, hey, how do you do this? Or each classroom is going to look a little different with that. Okay, and that's something that we come across once we have the kids here and we see best way to handle that. Okay. Will parents be will parents be made aware of how many students are in the classroom? Prior to your first day, it's a number because that number can change. If I say 18 and then tomorrow I have 3 kids that go virtual, now it's 15. So the numbers constantly change per classroom. So it is, like I said, we have everyone besides 2 classes. We have 2 classes at 21 currently. Everyone else is under 20, from 12 kids to 20 kids in the class, and it ranges across the board with that. And then will students have to carry supplies on their person every day, or will they have the space to leave it in? They're small areas, they're small items like that they normally keep in their desk. They're going to be able to. I would prefer them taking their device home every day, just because it's a something they might use at home, but also it's something that is valuable, you know. So just making sure they keep it on them, with them. Huh. Huh. All right, I've answered a few of these. And let's see here. So what I'm gonna, and I appreciate a lot of questions, so I appreciate that. And be able to make sure I answer everything correctly and thoroughly. I want to make sure that you get your answer correctly, right? So we'll do the FAQ, and I'll answer them through the FAQ and make sure you get a hold of that. Okay, with that. But great questions with this. I'm hoping that this explained a little bit of what school's going to look like. It is going to look different. That is definitely the case. It's not going to look like what we're used to, and we all know that. Again, it's going to slow down a lot as far as structure goes, as far as kids wearing masks, about recess looking different, lunch looking different. It is going to look different, and we know that, but it's what we need to do to make sure to keep everyone safe and healthy, and make sure we stay in school, make sure we stay open. So making sure that we're following those guidelines, and hopefully that helps in the long run, where we are able to open up to all students and have everyone here. So really appreciate all of you being here. It's 7:30, so I'll let you go with your evening. And again, you could ask a few more questions here, and we'll put them together to make sure that we answer them for you. Okay, and I'll take care of that tomorrow, and probably tomorrow night or Friday morning we'll have the questions for you, or answered for you. All right. So appreciate again everyone being here, and any other?
It just keeps going.
Okay. So keep those questions. Keep them coming. We'll answer them for you. Okay. And I want to thank Ms. Sherry for being here and being our scriber here tonight with that. All right. So thanks again. And again, this will be recorded. This is recorded, and we'll make sure it goes out to parents who weren't able to see tomorrow. And again, I apologize for all the technical issues that happened earlier on. Okay. Let me get back to send it live. There we go. All right. So again, thank you. And we will answer all your questions for you. Okay. And email me also if you have some really specific individual questions, and I'll get back to you on that. All right. So have a good night, and I appreciate you being here and watching this. Thank you.